Queen's last album featuring Mercury, Made in Heaven, was finally released in 1995, 4 years after his death. It was constructed from Mercury's final recordings, featuring tracks such as Too Much Love Will Kill You and Heaven for Everyone, plus material left over from their previous studio albums. In addition, reworked material from May, Taylor, and Mercury's solo albums were included. Both stages of recording, before and after Mercury's death, were completed at the band's studio in Montreux, Switzerland.
My understanding is what Freddie did was that when he had days when he felt well, he would go down to the recording studio and record effectively sound bites of lyrics that he was writing and so forth. And that was then spliced into Made in Heaven, which was the album that was released out. So he was not present at the making of Made in Heaven, but he'd contributed some of the writing to it while he was still alive and contributed some of the vocals. So you'll notice that some of the songs in it have a repetitiveness about it because that was all the bit of vocal that they had.
The only thing they had.
Yeah.
On the 25th of November 1996, a statue of Mercury was unveiled overlooking Lake Geneva almost 5 years to the day since his death. During a tribute to Freddie, Queen performed The Show Must Go On live with Elton John. This also marked the last performance and public appearance of John Deacon, who chose to retire in 1997.
I am married, I've got children as well. So it's a bit of a schizophrenic life in a way. Sometimes you're on the road and it's all hectic, and then sometimes at home it's very different altogether. And I never thought I would still be playing in a band or, recording at this age. When you first join, you think perhaps 5 years, 10 years at the most, when you first start playing music. If I'd just been, say, a bass player all my life, with the band, it wouldn't be so satisfying to sit here now and sort of that would have been my input. Because I only consider that as part of what I do. I mean, the actual, actually writing songs, and also being involved in the decision-making processes, or arguments or whatever, is nice. It really feels that you're part of our own destiny, really.
The Paris concert was only the second time Queen had played live since Mercury's death, but prompted Elton John to urge them to perform again. On Elton's advice, May and Taylor subsequently performed together at several awards ceremonies and charity concerts, sharing vocals with various guest singers from George Michael to Pavarotti. During this time, they were billed as Queen Plus, followed by the name of the guest singer. The resurgence into the limelight cemented Queen as the second best-selling artist in the UK of all time, right behind the Beatles. May and Taylor enjoyed performing together to raise awareness of the spread of HIV and AIDS. In 2003, the group performed at the 4664 concert hosted by Nelson Mandela in Cape Town. After spending time at Mandela's home and discussing how Africa's problems might be approached, 2 years later, the band was made an ambassador for the 4664 cause. In 2004, Queen were amongst the inaugural inductees into the UK Music Hall of Fame.
Not only were they musically brilliant, not only were the collection of songs so varied, as we said, but they also had an extra ingredient, if you like, to every other rock band, and that's Freddie. Because he was a life and a dynamism on his own, and then mixed that with the rest of the guys in the band, and it was just that extra little bit of magic.
It was at this ceremony where Paul Rodgers, who was the founder and former lead singer of Free and Bad Company, joined May and Taylor as lead vocalists, announcing they would embark on a world tour. Ever sensitive to their fans and the memory of their celebrated lead singer, Brian May's website stated that Rodgers would be featured with Queen as Queen plus Paul Rodgers, thereby not replacing Mercury. Taylor was of the belief they would never tour again, but Paul came along by chance and the chemistry sparked. A tour was inevitable, adding that, quote, "Paul is just such a great singer. He's not trying to be Freddie."
I don't think it's a lesser industry without them because they are still here. They still sell records. Queen's Greatest Hits will come out now and it would sell, a few more million. They are still here even though Freddie's not around. And obviously they do some interesting projects. They have some interesting frontmen sometimes hook up with them and try. No one could replace Freddie Mercury.
The first leg was in Europe, the second in Japan, and the third in the US. At the end of the tour, the band received the inaugural VH1 Rock Honors at the Mandalay Bay Events Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. Queen and Paul Rodgers officially split up without animosity in May 2009. Rodgers stated that it was never meant to be a permanent arrangement, and he did not rule out the possibility of working with Queen again. A new greatest hits compilation titled Absolute Greatest was recently released and peaked at number 3 in the official UK chart. The album contains 20 of Queen's biggest hits spanning their entire career and was released in 4 different formats: as a single disc, a double disc with a commentary, a double disc with a feature book, and as a vinyl record. Though May stated on his website that Queen had no intentions to tour in 2010, there was a possibility of a performance, and he did not disappoint. From American Idol to UK's X Factor and a duo with Lady Gaga at the MTV VMAs, May and Taylor lit up the stage after stage. Simon Cowell had personally requested that Brian and Roger get involved in the X Factor, and they were happy to do so. Simon stated that they know all there is to know about showing off on stage and creating a buzz. The legends were delighted to encourage and inspire new talent. Not only did they perform on the X Factor, they also mentored the singers who sang some of Queen's classic tunes. But performing and mentoring on reality shows was not the only thing keeping this band on the map. Queen's manager Jim Breach had spoken with the band about creating a jukebox musical with Queen's songs since the mid-1990s.
It's a people's show, it's a feel-good show, and it's a rock show as well as being a musical, so I think a lot of fun will be had.
Initially, the intent was to create a biographical story of Freddie Mercury. Around the same time, Robert De Niro's production company, Tribeca, expressed an interest in a Queen musical, but passed on the original idea. May and Taylor then approached writer and performer Ben Elton to discuss the project. Elton suggested creating an original story that would capture the spirit of Queen's music. He worked closely with May and Taylor to incorporate Queen's songs into the story. When you take into account the millions of dedicated fans around the world, it was only a question of time before Queen's iconic music broke into the West End. The original production opened at the Dominion Theatre in 2002. 3 years later, in 2005, We Will Rock You became the longest-running musical at that venue, which is notable since the Dominion Theatre is one of the largest theatrical venues in the West End, with a seating capacity of 2,000 people.
From very small kids, I mean, a lot of schools have been doing We Will Rock You on their own now, I don't know if you know, to the oldest among us, in which I include myself. It's incredibly wide-ranging, and all countries. In London, you see an incredible mixture. You look around and you'll see granddads with their grandsons and granddaughters all doing it, all getting up and shouting and screaming and singing, and it's a good time thing. It seems to spread across generations.
I've seen We Will Rock You, and again, you see We Will Rock You is a really interesting one. We Will Rock You, I know Ben Elton wrote it, but obviously with the blessing of the band. And it's funny, it's silly, it's tongue-in-cheek, it's corny. The storyline, the songs clearly are as great as ever, but they've translated so well to the stage. You can imagine Freddie Mercury would love that, the whole flamboyance and the crazy costumes and everything about We Will Rock You.
Well, we've always been quite popular with our concerts in the northern part of the country. It's been very strong for us, and because we are sort of proper, we're a sort of band for proper people, you know. And
yeah, I think
we're not a critics band, and this is not a critics show.
It's not just us. I mean, the music's good. I'll say that without reservation, you know, and it's things that make people feel happy in the music. But it's a great all-round show, and it's got a great script from Ben Elton, who has a touch with these things, you know, from Blackadder, you'll know. And we have a fantastic cast, a fantastic band, and it's all live. I mean, most of these shows that you see, they won't be live. There'll be people miming bits and pieces. This is real life, and kind of dangerous. It has the element of a rock show as well as being a musical of a kind. So it's a new kind of musical, if you like.
We do have a fantastic band. It's a proper band. It's not a band of just pure session musicians, which is what you normally get with people. You know, a lot of the guys in the West End in London, they do the Lion King tonight, and then they go around and they're doing. We've got a proper core band, and they're sort of like rock players, and they play brilliantly, including my son. And he's only 17, and he got through. Brian gave him his first break, and he got through the audition without any help from me, and he plays hopefully great drums.
He is a great drummer. That's a great feature of the show. You'll see a very young, very vibrant band. Bohemian Rhapsody is always a pretty good bet.
It was a thrill to see it done properly on stage, because we could never do the whole of the song because it had too many voices. You know, they're all our voices, but we could never recreate the whole of it on stage. But now, with the show, with you know, like 30 whatever many people on stage, all singing, we can do that, and with a big band, 8-piece band. That was a thrill when we first saw that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It still is. Yeah, I get pretty emotional seeing them do it. They get a great response from the audience as well. I don't think there's another show. People love to perform in We Will Rock You because they get this great feedback from the crowd, because people always go nuts. They always get up out of their seats at the end. They always clap. They always sing and stuff. And it's a good feeling. It's a real journey. It is set in the future, 100 years, but a lot of people come out saying, "Oh, that's very close to the way things are today." You know, things are very controlled by, not by chains and prisons, you know, but by advertising and the general homogenisation.
Talent shows.
Blandisation of everything. Yeah, and the reality thing. You know, it's all become very packaged, and people are not allowed to think for themselves. So that's kind of what the show is about. It's about people's freedom to express themselves. It's a very live show. It's a little dangerous, and you'll definitely come out feeling good. You'll have forgotten your troubles for a night. I think that we can promise.
In 2011, it celebrated its 9th anniversary and extended its booking date, running until March 2012.